Okay, what's up everybody? I'm Billy Smith and welcome back to yet another one of my vlog podcasts, if you can call it that. So today I'm going to discuss the move of Nairo Quintana from my perspective. So I don't always think reporters see it exactly the same way, or you as a public, so I might share some inside information which might or might not be speculation, so you do with it whatever you want. As you know by now, Nairo Quintana is leaving Arkea Samsic. He had a 3-year deal with them, which kind of abruptly come to an end. Now there's a lot of speculation as to why. The first point would probably be his tramadol case, which you know by now he tested positive through a test which is carried out by the UCI. Remember, tramadol is not banned by WADA, but it is banned by the UCI. It's a bit strange, but just to clarify things. And then I've done a couple of these tests in a race. If you don't know me by now, I've been cycling professionally for a couple of years now, over a 10-year period. I've had my ups and downs, but I've walked the road. So basically how it goes, it's a small holder like this. It flips open and it's got 4 tubes in a S shape, which they then prick your finger, and from your finger the blood that comes out, you kind of need to press it against that case so it fills up all 4 tubes. Now it's really thin tubes, so you don't need a lot of blood, but it can be quite a messy thing. I really don't enjoy doing these tests, and I've asked them, like, why can't you just do the test with the normal blood test that you take? And it's prohibited. It needs to be a separate test. Like I said, once again, this is a UCI test and not necessarily a WADA test, as tramadol is not banned by WADA but by the UCI regulations. It then folds closed, and then when they open it up, the tubes are obviously compact and folded closely. So when it closes, it squash and make this circular blood stain against the other side, and that's how they depend if the test has been done correctly, and then it will be sent in for later analysis. And that's how they do. It's a new tramadol test that they've brought in, as tramadol was not previously banned. So that's how they do it. Now, before tramadol was not banned, when it was a completely legal medicine, I've used it in the past. Please note that it was legal in this period. I really honestly didn't like it. It took a little bit away from my concentration. Not that much, made you a little bit numb, but I honestly didn't feel good at it. And another thing is that it raises your core temperature, and you know that once your core temperature raises, that's really bad for your performance. So unless you really had a bad crash in the tour, or you're really badly injured, you wouldn't really want to take it. I know there's been studies out there which says all these performance enhancing gains, and in my opinion that's absolutely bullshit. Sorry, some rooibos tea all the way from South Africa. I live here in Andorra. Good weather luckily before I leave for Tour of Langkawi later on. But anyway, I know you guys must be burning to find out where Nairo Quintana is heading, but I need you guys to listen a bit longer before we get there, so all of this makes sense. So there's been a lot of speculation. I see the latest news on Twitter has been they've linked him to 3 French teams, which is probably Cofidis, AG2R. I can't remember exactly what was the other team they've mentioned. Since I found out, I didn't even waste my time to further investigate where he might be heading. My own sources tell me that he will be heading to AG2R. Now that makes sense in the sense that Ben O'Connor left and they are looking for a GC rider, and he might be a good fit. Also, Nairo has worked well over the last couple of years in Arkea, contrary to popular belief. So he's shown he fits well in there in a team environment and in a French system. So that's why AG2R might be a good fit with him. So they have experience with Colombian riders like Bananito. He was there, I think, 2013 to 2015, if you can remember. So they do have experience with Colombian riders. I mentioned this because the French teams are quite known to have mostly French riders, and they are a very tight-knit unit. So yeah, it seems that he might be heading off to AG2R. Now the question is, why did he leave? I think there's a bit of bad blood there. I think the previous Tour de France, if you can remember, there was some kind of investigation with some not prohibited stuff found, but the biggest thing was not about prohibited substances, but a prohibited method. So that could indicate syringes, but that case didn't go anywhere to my knowledge. So you might leave a comment in the comment section down below if you know anything more that I probably, or the people listening this vlog podcast, don't know. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think, and this is my personal opinion with the tramadol case, and I'll get into depth of that scenario further on in this podcast. I think because it was possibly not given by a team doctor, that's where the bad blood comes from. You know, teams in general don't care what type of medicines we take, obviously, if it's legal and in a ethical way, so not overusing certain medications which are legal. I think Arkea could possibly be a bit upset because whatever he took, and I'll get into that later, could possibly have not been given by a team doctor, and that's what really have upset them. Now, there are cases that certain pain medications which are legal, alternative to tramadol, could have triggered a positive tramadol result. That I'm not going to go into the science of that, but please note that that is possible. It's almost like, also if you take, it's not the same, but it's almost the same. It's like if you take certain legal asthma medications, like fluticasone and salmeterol, and you're dehydrated and you've taken it just under the limit, that can then trigger a positive result, even though you were not guilty. But they do warn you of these possible things that can happen. So you normally want certain medication that has a limit. You don't want to take it to the limit because of dehydration, kidney function, how your body secretes certain molecules and metabolites is different to each individual, and that can trigger a positive or anti-doping positive test result, resulting in disqualification or even a 2-year, 3-4 year ban. So yeah, let me just so I don't think it was given by the team doctor, and I think that's why they're upset. And he had a 3-year extension with them, and I think they've made an agreement that their roads won't continue further. So that contract obviously had to be terminated, torn up, and it seems that he will be heading to AG2R from my sources. That's quite interesting. How he'll fit in there, what will happen with his case. I do think that only if he is found not guilty or there's no severe punishment, he'll move to AG2R. Obviously, if there's a severe punishment, because his case is still ongoing, that he might then not go to AG2R. Let me remind you, there's not been a precedent set for these type of scenarios, so that's also relevant. So it is quite unknown as to what will happen, but he is quite wealthy, which means you have good lawyers, and that his chances of getting out of this is pretty good. This is relevant because a lot of cyclists that are not as rich cannot afford to take on a lengthy court case, investigations, for example, like the Chris Froome case. So let me just read something to you regarding tramadol, and this is another thing why I don't care if it's banned or whatever. I never believed in it from the start as a massive performance enhancing thing. I think there's a lot of other things which is completely legal, which can also assist you with marginal gains. If you're a fun rider, you're going to see almost no benefits. So potential alternatives to tramadol is codeine. I think you all know codeine. Tramadol is a synthetic man-made drug that is similar to codeine, which is derived from poppies. Both are considered opioids, although they are both less potent than other drugs in this class. So they are considered to have less of a risk of dependency and overdose than other opioids. However, it's important to note that dependency and overdose can still happen when using these drugs, even if they are taken correctly. I mean, this is just standard procedure, things that you'll find on the back of a label of any medicine. Which is deadlier? Interesting. It's hard to say. One study showed that codeine and tramadol had similar mortality rates. If you're interested, what are they used for? Tramadol is used for treatment of both chronic and acute cases of moderate to severe pain. Research also suggests that it might work well as an antidepressant, since it may affect levels of neurotransmitter serotonin and norepinephrine. Codeine is used for the treatment of pain as well as for cough relief. So it is worth mentioning. Yeah, it's sad that people misuse certain medications which can help athletes. What do I mean by that? I mean that there are times which you'll really crash very hard in a grand tour, in a stage race, and you need some medication for pain to get through it, or just to feel better. You know, the year is long, it's brutal, there's no reason to suffer more than we already do mentally and physically on the bike. So in a case where a medicine like tramadol could really help with pain, especially when you should use it, or when it's recommended when you've had a bad crash, it's sad because now you can't, because certain people are misusing the product. I think you know what I mean by that. Which is stronger? According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, these drugs are roughly of the same strength. So it's funny that the one is banned and the other per se not. But yeah, I think enough said regarding this topic. Let's see what happens going forward. Let's see if him going to AG2R is true or not. I think you can hold me accountable in the comment section if I'm wrong. Then I'll have to probably delete this video or update it, or edit what I've said out, but I've said too much already, so there's not much I can edit. But anyway, guys, if you like this content, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Remember to subscribe, remember to like, remember to share. It really helps this channel a lot. And if I should make more of these stories going forward, which I share a different point of view from a professional cyclist point of view and life. Cheers, until next time.